A skeleton key is a type of master key. The serrated edge of it has been removed so that it can fit and open many different locks. In the same way that a physical key exists to unlock many types of locks, contentment, gratitude, and rest are all three ways we can unlock all that God has for you and I to gain a deeper understanding of who He is and His heart for us.
So I used to play college soccer, and while playing one year, I started this series of dislocated shoulders. I would get hit, I'd get bumped and take a hard fall, and each time I would fix it by myself without anybody seeing, and wouldn't go to the physical therapist or the trainer and get any kind of attention on it. Well, what happened is eventually my shoulder wouldn't stay in place. Even just walking upstairs, that amount of just moving around would shove it out of socket and I'd have to put it back in. So I eventually had to get a pretty detailed reconstructive surgery with 9 months of rehab. And then years later, I had to give a second surgery to fix the first surgery. And it was awful. See, but what could have happened is that for the very first time I got injured, I could have gotten some attention and done some physical therapy and avoided all these surgeries. But I let my body get out of alignment. When my body got out of alignment, I was limiting its capability and its capacity. And it's easy to see it with your physical body. If there's something wrong with your knee, your ankle, your back, your shoulder, it's easy to identify and get it fixed, but we can also get misaligned in our soul as well. And those symptoms are much more subtle. So think of your soul as having like a dashboard, like your car. And dashboards are designed to tell you critical information. It tells you how fast you're going, how much fuel you have left, and there's a third thing it tells you, and it alerts you to something that is abnormally wrong. Something that needs immediate attention. It's a problem that you have to look at now, because if you don't, you're gonna affect all future performance of your vehicle. Well, again, that's true for our souls. Our souls have a dashboard, and I think if you look at most people today, everybody has a light on their dashboard to their soul, and it is telling them they are lacking rest. See, rest is an undervalued and underappreciated gift from God, actually. It's not just something we run 1,000,000 miles an hour to and then just get exhausted and fall asleep. That's not getting good rest. That's your body just saying you've had enough. But rest is a gift that we see in 3 instances in Scripture. See, I like to believe that when we rest, we're at our best. And I don't think that's coincidental. I think that is designed by God. If you look at Genesis chapter 1, at the very beginning in the creation story, on the 7th day, God does something peculiar. See, before that, for 6 days, He creates very tangible, tactile things. But on the 7th day, something totally different happens. It says He rested. What an odd thing, right? I mean, God, does He need rest? I don't think He needs rest. No, I think God created rest and modeled it for us. See, we need rest, and it's intentional. God created us to have rest, not just for our physical bodies, but for our souls. See, rest is a critical part of how we're made and designed. God created us to need it. And then if you keep reading the story of Scripture, you get to Exodus where we see the 10 Commandments, and then God doubles down on rest, and He, through Moses, gives the 10 Commandments, and one of the commandments says this: it commands a Sabbath, which is a day of rest and reflection. It's intentional rest. It's intentional inactivity. And if you read that in Exodus chapter 20, that commandment has the most detail of all the 10 Commandments. And if God were just to give us 10 rules to live by and one of them be rest, I would assume that that's a really important thing. See, what we know about rest so far, just from the first 2 books of the Bible, in Genesis and Exodus, is that God created it and then Moses commanded it. And then we see how Jesus, the person of Jesus, ties together all of the Old Testament. And He gives us some words on rest as well in Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 to 30. Then Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light. Don't miss the language that he uses here. It's probably unfamiliar to us, but the word yoke, it's a farming term. And yoke was a big wooden device that would link up two large animals who by themselves couldn't accomplish the task that the farmer wanted unless it was directly connected to another animal. See, they needed each other's power. They needed each other to share and carry the burden to do the task that was given to them. The Greek word for that is zugos. And it has so much intention, and it had a lot of intention to his audience because they could immediately know what he's talking about. And they probably thought it was weird. They're like, Jesus wants to attach us by our necks with a wooden plow. I'm not signing up for that. But he's talking about giving us physical rest. He's talking about when you attach yourself to me, all of a sudden you're not doing life through your own power, but you are doing life through the grace and mercy and the goodness and the power of God. And he says, take my yoke, live with me. And Jesus invites them into a place of rest. What an incredible thing. When you see these three instances of rest in Scripture, you see that God created it, Moses commanded it, and Jesus invites us to it. And that is an incredible thing. Rest is a huge part of the story of Scripture and the story of humanity. And again, this isn't just physical rest, this is rest for our souls. See, a long time ago, a brilliant British theologian named C.S. Lewis, he said, how you respond to interruptions is who you really are. That's a challenging thing for me because let me tell you, I don't respond to interruptions with a whole lot of pleasantness. I mean, they are interrupting my very important busy days. I cannot have that. I have to go get my latte and be off to my next place. I'm not about your interruption, but he's saying the way you respond to the interruptions and the obstacles and challenges and things that make you slow down in life, the things that reflect the condition of your soul and the rest that it has, those tell you who you really are in that moment. So the question is, how would you be right now if something interrupted your day? Are you rested and aware enough to respond well? See, it's funny, my sons, they're 6 and 8, and they fight sleep so hard, because they don't want to miss out on the fun, they say. But the irony is, by the time the fun thing's happening, they're too groggy and irritable and frustrating to enjoy it. So the truth is, you're not getting rest for your physical body or rest for your soul. You're not just missing out on things. You are ruining moments and opportunities. See, God commands us to have rest. And here's the cool thing. Jesus, a life with Christ, that is the key to rest.